What's up guys, Foxen here. Let's talk Attack on Titan chapter 115 with some predictions and hopes. A shorter month means Attack on Titan is back sooner. Still 2 months for the anime though. Damn you, Wit Studio. By the way, do be sure to smash that colossal thumbs up and subscribe. More juicy Attack on Titan and anime videos here weekly. Alright, so let's get started. Questions from you coming after. So we got quite a few topics and questions to get into. First off, the super hot topic is the status of Levi. What happened? And that's actually the funny part. I actually have a pretty good guess at what's not going to happen. Here's my guess, just knowing Isayama. The bastard is really gonna make you wait. In other words, you're gonna get like a panel or really only hinting at what actually happened. Then in like 2 or 3 chapters, you're actually gonna see what happened. Since this is a prediction video, let me ask you, what do you think is Levi's status? Did he lose an arm? Is he dead? Did he lose a leg? Did he just escape magically? I know a lot of you are pointing right now that he lost a leg and an arm based on that super vague ass picture. So for me, if I was a betting man, and I'm not, I would say that the guy perhaps just lost an arm. That way he could still fight. Or at the very least, one arm got out of commission. So go ahead and post down below, what do you think happened to Levi? Next up, before Eren himself, I do want to bring up Eren Kruger. To be honest, I was a little disappointed to see nothing about this guy being involved in the Tom Beast Titan flashback. Pretty sure almost everyone at this point, or a good majority of fans, expected the Beast Titan and Eren Kruger to be working together, at least in some form. Just going based off the events of the previous chapter, none of that has actually been happening in the background. And that's the thing, I still think Eren Kruger has been involved somehow. Unfortunately, I really don't think we're going to find out more about Eren Kruger from Zeke's flashbacks. Which really just means I do expect to see at least one more Eren Kruger flashback. But unfortunately, I don't see that happening until we actually return to whatever happening with Eren Yeager. And yes, about the rogue Eren himself. There's still so many goddamn questions about what exactly he's up to, what's going on with him. When we last left them, they went back to the hometown, so presumably they should be setting up the Colossal Titan demonstration, or at this point just released all of them. And that's the thing, ever since we saw Eren smash Mikasa and Armin, one mentally and one physically, we really haven't gotten more insight into what's going on inside of his head. That's what I'm really more curious about, what exactly is going on inside of that head. So, can we get some thoughts or at least some dialogue? Come on, Isayama. And I know some of you aren't a fan of flashbacks, but I think we should get a flashback to what exactly was going on in Marley. Or really just from an extension of Eren and a flashback back to Eren Kruger. How about a flashback to whatever was going inside of that period in the jail cell, from Eren's point of view? I mean, the guy was ultra silent, except that one time he was looking at the mirror. What's the deal with that? Was he just psyching himself up, or was he trying to contact someone? Oh, and did I forget about someone? Let me actually flip it over to the other Yeager brother, Zeke. I'm actually surprised at how many of you keep on asking whether this guy died. I'm like 95% sure that the Beast Titan is not dead. And I think it's even overestimating that 5% chance that Zeke actually went full-on explosion on the readers. I kinda wanna see Isayama do that, but I don't see him doing that. Zeke is much too important to the story. Which, by the way, I actually would be interested to see an actual transfer of the Titan powers. So far, we've only heard about that happening, and not actually seen it. Either way, Zeke should be alive. However, keep in mind some examples like Ymir in the past. This really just means that Zeke should be out of commission for a good while. Even if he somehow magically pulls a Deadpool, Isayama should really knock this guy out for like 2 or 3 chapters. Potentially very, very key chapters at this point in the story. The real question is, who's about to go save Zeke's ass? Or actually, at this point, this guy doesn't have an ass. This brings up another thing. Assuming Zeke actually fully regenerates, this guy's going to be naked from the bottom half. Oh, that's going to be fun for Isayama to show. Next up, how about the Survey Corps? What is actually going on with Armin, Mikasa, Jean, and Kuni? Is there anyone else? Will these guys finally break out, or will they be taken over to where Eren is at? Just to see his little demonstration, right before the world goes boom. If they do take Armin out with them, I got a feeling they're gonna strap a couple of Survey Corps bodies to him, which really just cuts off the nutsack of the God of Destruction Colossal Titan. No transformation for you. And then for the one Survey Corps commander, Hanji, how about the status on her? I got a feeling next chapter we're gonna see her arriving eventually at the Titan Forest, just to discover that Zeke and the rest of the guys are not there. Which again potentially puts Hanji in danger cause of the fucking insane flock. Really hoping nothing bad goes down there. Next up, how about the warriors? Can we get some type of update on them? At this point, it's been so many chapters since we last saw them. Technically, the last chapter kinda counts as a Marley one, but we're still waiting on some type of update from Peak. Last time we saw her gathering information on the island situation. What was going on? Pretty much doing what Eren did back at Marley. I gotta assume that Peak should be heading the warrior's plan of attack. In other words, the Jaws Titan, Armor Titan, and Peak Titan are all gonna do some coordinated attack, and they really should at this point. The real question is, what are they after? Are they gonna attack the military on the island? Or are they gonna try to kill Historia, in other words those in power? Or did Peak notice the crazy situation going on the island? In other words, she's gonna magically show up somewhere close to their hometown area. The next big Titan battle should be taking place there, potentially the final one. And the last thing I'll mention is the endpoint of Attack on Titan. Right now it's actually really looking like Attack on Titan will end between chapters 125 and 130. This may or may not change depending on Isayama himself. I mean, Isayama has stated several times in the past about having this set timeline, but then certain events and stuff being expanded to take more panels and chapters than originally planned. I'm pretty sure that's what happened with the attack on Marley. I mean, for me and most hardcore Attack on Titan fans, the more the better. And I did mention that chapter 125 to 130 range. To be honest, I might be even putting it closer to the 125 mark. And I know a lot of you will scream that a lot of stuff in Attack on Titan has not been covered or explained, and that's really one of the main things I want to touch on here. Sure, by the time that Attack on Titan is over, we're gonna know more than we know right now. However, I really don't think Isayama is gonna give us a straight answer to a lot of questions. In other words, we're gonna get hints here and there, but by the end of the series, there's gonna be a lot of stuff that we don't exactly know 100%. Why hello there, a huge thank you to Patreon supporters and welcome to the new ones. If you enjoyed the monthly videos and 80 plus hours I put into this every week, please really consider becoming a Patreon supporter. This is getting super ahead of myself, but I will try to do this full time soon, and more info later this month. Which, to be honest, right now that we're in the second apocalypse, it really has me worried. But hopefully enough of you hardcore guys could help out. I mean, really only $1 or $2 would help. These Q&A videos usually get like 50,000 views or higher. Imagine if only 10% of that gave like $1 or $2. I'd be able to make these videos without worrying. So please really consider becoming a Patreon supporter. Alright, so first question from T. Smith. Do you think this next chapter will be an Eren point of view chapter, or at least give us some insight on his plan and what he's thinking? Alright, so a little bit earlier I did mention that I do want to find out what exactly Eren is doing. Whether Isayama actually shows us that is a different question. And right here you actually bring up something pretty interesting, an Eren point of view chapter. I mentioned potentially getting a flashback from his point of view while he was in jail, or while he was at Marley again. So given that I do want that and potentially seeing what Eren is up to right now, unfortunately I don't think that's going to happen. I could see Isayama doing this. All of the events are going to play out, and eventually towards the end, in the middle of the battle, boom, that's when Eren has a flashback. Or potentially once the grand Attack on Titan events are done. Boom, flashback to Eren's point of view to a lot of these things mentioned. I kinda do hope that doesn't happen since, well, that'd be super far away. I wanna know the sooner the better. And not to mention, that's really just a common practice with a lot of series. Specifically, the villain doing something bad, and then once they're dead or about to die, boom, you find out what was motivating them. So, as they say, I'm gonna avoid that cliche. Next question from Kashmir Fox. Given that the WarHammers are purely superior to the Attack Titan, how is it going to work when Eren transforms? Ah, the $1 million Titan question. Everyone wants to know how exactly Eren's Triton is gonna look. Is it gonna be awesome and badass? Will it be any different? Let me just mention that the Attack Titan has such an iconic look so far, so part of me is leaning towards no change, but instead the Attack Titan with some gained powers. It may look something more similar to that devil thing from one of the recent Attack on Titan covers. Next question up from Sparkle the Cake. Do you think the undead Eldians such as Historia's onboard child will be a loophole to Zeke's master plan of euthanizing Eldians? So this is actually pretty interesting, ever since Zeke's master plan got revealed, presumably last chapter. This potential loophole or something involved Historia's baby has been brought up. The thing about that is that potentially if Isayama does want that to happen, it would happen. Although if you actually look back at the details of what would go into Zeke's master plan, I'm not sure how that would work. Specifically, if Historia's baby is some type of quote-unquote loophole. This is assuming Eren's gonna go full-on with Zeke's master plan. Did Eren really know about that all those months ago? Or at least perhaps he had a hunch. But now actually getting into the details of Zeke's plan. For this specific thing, I'm assuming you're going with the no baby option. However, what does that even mean? Of course, to potentially make the Eldians unable to have any children, you'd have to use a founding Titan power, or at least that's how we think it works based on the recent information. So assume Zeke and Eren follow through with the plan. Right now, Eren would be the one in control of the founding Titan power. In other words, Eren would be the one sterilizing all Eldians. The key question right now would be, why would the baby not be affected? Unless Eren has that much fine-grained control over everything. I mean, I guess that could potentially be an option. But again, this actually puts Eren in a pretty negative light because this does mean that he wants to follow Zeke's plan, at least the sterilization one. Just how are people going to think about Eren if he actually does that? I already see a lot of hate after the recent chapter after what he did to Mikasa and Armin. Next question up from Distract Enemies. Well, we see a team up of Annie, Reiner, Armin to take Eren towards the end. So I think right now in the about 15 chapters or so that we have left for Attack on Titan, we should see some very interesting team-ups. Again, assuming the most obvious thing is happening with Eren becoming the main big bad of the whole series, at least from the world's point of view and the Survey Corps' point of view, the warriors would potentially be forced to team up with the Survey Corps to take him on. That seems to be one of the most obvious paths. That's why it'd be interesting to see if any warrior actually turns and actually goes to Eren's side. And the thing about Annie, I'm really just thinking that if Annie does wake up, she's gonna be confused as hell. Next question up from Gias Reofan. How many manga chapters until the final war or battle begins? Alright, so for this question, assuming Attack on Titan will end around chapter 130, I think we can actually look back at the attack on Marley for a good estimate. I mean, the whole battle and attack there took in between, 5-6 chapters? In other words, if Isayama is setting up this grand battle for Attack on Titan that's taking place at their hometown, right now every single piece of that is being set up. The thing about that is that you could expect the final conflict to take way more chapters than the attack on Marley. So assuming there's only one major battle left in Attack on Titan, this should happen by chapter 120, if not earlier. Next question up from Valchrist. With Levi potentially in serious condition with multiple loss of limbs, do you think someone might come across his body and assist him or even potentially capture him? Imagine that, someone capturing Levi in a Pokeball. You've been caught. No, but seriously, right now Levi's gonna magically just fall in some water and be fine from that fall. What happens afterwards is a good question. Right now, one of my top guesses was that Levi was actually heading towards Historia's site. Presumably, Historia or someone close by should have heard that big ass explosion, which means that potentially Mr. Farmer guy is gonna go check out. Or hopefully they do have more Survey Corps guards there. So either way, whether Levi is critically injured or not, someone's definitely gonna have to come for help. Otherwise, the guy's just gonna be bleeding to death. Next question up from Abraxas Beelzebub. Do you think Eren will arrive to where Zeke and Levi are at the moment, or is he coming up with other shenanigans somewhere else? So this is actually pretty related to the previous one. Specifically about Eren, I actually don't see him leaving the hometown area. If someone does find Zeke or Levi, that would magically have to be the warriors just randomly heading towards the Titan Forest. It could also be Flock and Hanji that just happen to pass by them or hear the explosion. I guess it could be some other random family like Sasha's that was out in the forest. Although if that does happen, that seems a little bit too random at that point. Next question up from Tulu. If Eren's transformation looks different after all the titans he's eaten, might he be able to talk if his mouth structure differs? Specifically about the mouth structure. At this point, that's become so iconic for Eren's Attack Titan, I get a feeling that's not gonna change too much. Then again, you have other weird examples like the Colossal Titan that had no lips, while Armin's Colossal Titan now magically has lips, so potentially that one could talk. So my guess for this would be, if Eren could only use one Titan at a time, then he should be able to become the WarHammer Titan then speak through that. I mean, at this point the guy isn't very chatty. Next up, getting into the Twitter questions you sent in. By the way, if you do want to see your question appear here, definitely be sure to follow me on Twitter and send your question in the future with the correct hashtag. First question up from Rayona. Do you think Eren's parents may have a connection with Marley? Eren's parents. So throughout the years, I've seen actually so many theories or ideas based off of this. Are Eren's parents of royal blood? Are they from Marley? Part of this really just stemming from them being some inventors, which actually got confirmed in Attack on Titan Season 3 with that balloon. So do Eren's parents have any connection to them? To be honest, at this point, I don't think Isayama is going to magically make some reveal for Armin's parents. Whether they actually have a connection to Marley though, I guess technically they do since they are connected to the Eldians over at Marley. Whether that really has any significance, I would doubt it. Next question up from Kevin. I know that Eren and Mikasa ending up together is unlikely since Eren's probably gonna die. But is there a chance that before Attack on Titan ends, that they're gonna have some cute moments like him wrapping her scarf one last time? Or even peck on the cheek? Just something before Eren bites the dust. It feels like there's a select number of people sending in a lot of questions about Eren and Mikasa. I just hope that that's not the only reason you're reading Attack on Titan. You may not be happy with the ending. Either way, you do bring up something interesting up. Whether Eren, Mikasa, and Armin are gonna have some type of friendly bonding moment. To be honest, I'd be surprised if there isn't. Isayama should be setting something up. Perhaps it could be very cliche, Eren's dying, and suddenly he has a moment with Mikasa and Armin. He just touches her on the cheek and reveals some truth, or just says sorry. Or hugs him, who knows. Next question up from JJ's WWE Asylum. I saw a theory that the reason Kruger mentioned Armin and Mikasa, then said whose memories are these, is because the Attack Titan's secret power is seeing the memories of its future holders. And the one who will free Elida is the one who knows Mikasa and Armin. What do you think? So this question specifically is asking about that Kruger scene, when he randomly mentioned Mikasa and Armin. Which is perfect, I recently made a full video about this. I would highly suggest checking that out. I pretty much gave my full thoughts about that, and my thoughts have not changed since then. Next question up from Anchor. Who do you think has more chances to demise in chapter 115? Alright, if we actually want to go down the list, I guess there's Levi, Zeke. Those two guys just got blown up. Of course, I don't think they actually died. If you want to bring up more people that are potentially near the grave, how about Hanji or Historia? For Historia, really going back to that Game of Thrones comparison, her dying giving childbirth. And for Hanji, her just being potentially in danger because of fricking Flock. Or how about Flock? Someone take out this guy, just drop a tree on him. But if you want to be serious about this, I think the highest person that has a chance to die is some random nameless person. Other than that, potentially some minor characters, or maybe even some high-ranking officials. I mean, Pixies and Nile are still around. Next question from Kay. Hey, what if after the blast Levi's okay, but he finds Zeke in pieces all dead, and then just keeps the Beast Titan power safe inside of him? Levi eats Zeke's spine, or spinal fluids, whatever. I don't think he would hesitate to do that in order to keep the Beast Titan power safe. Alright, so for this, I actually seen quite a handful of you bring this up. Why doesn't Levi just become the next Beast Titan? The thing is, do we really want Isayama to make the super overpowered character in Attack on Titan even stronger? I mean, forget about actually using the Beast, because Levi doesn't need a Titan. The biggest thing he would get out of this would just be the Deadpool regeneration powers. That alone would be why I think that wouldn't happen. On the flip side, I would be curious to see Levi doing this just for two reasons. Once and for all, can we just get an answer and stop the debate about whether an Ackerman that's part Eldian could actually become a Titan? Keep in mind that Levi's random ass papa should have been Eldian, and a subject of Vimir on top of that. And two, I guess I would really just want to see how Isayama would handle that situation. I mean, you have the overpowered Levi, and now he becomes overpowered squared Levi. But perhaps for that reason alone, I don't see that happening. There also would be the question about whether Levi actually has one of those syringes. Can he make himself into a Titan? Actually, that makes me think of something. Potentially someone, including Levi or some random person, could save Levi, making him into a mindless Titan, and just leaving him there. That would be cruel. Next question up from Johnny Takeover. I saw a theory that maybe the final panel is actually Eren with Mikasa's kid. That because she's an Ackerman and Asian, she'd be the only one unaffected by the Founding Titan's body structure manipulation. And she'd be the only Eldian who could have kids. What do you think? So far in the Attack on Titan story, we do know about one baby that's about to be popped out. That's why it would be really strange if the final panel, specifically the kid, wasn't Historia's kid. Or potentially a flashback. Some people think it's Eren, being held by Grisha. I mean, I do hope that Isayama does have some big plans for Mikasa. Although Mikasa really just ending up being important because she could have a kid because she's Ackerman and Asian. I mean, I don't even think I like the sound of that. That would literally put her in the Sakura level from the board to that series. Next question from Delane. Hey Foxen, maybe for the chapter we could get a detailed backstory on Historia and Farmer Kuna. To be honest, I'm not really too interested in finding out too much about the farmer guy, if that guy really is a father. Although I really want to get some type of update on Historia. At the very least, can we get some sort of timeline for her? I think she should be having the kid in like 4 or 3 months, but we're not exactly sure. Next question up from Nicola. Hey Foxen, do you think Eren will fight Levi, or now more likely Mikasa or even Armin in the upcoming chapters? So that's the thing, for a while the most popular idea was that Levi eventually would be faced off against the big overpowered Eren. After the latest chapter, it's looking like that's not gonna happen. So, is the trophy fight going to end up being with Mikasa? I think regardless of whether the Levi thing actually ever happened, there was ultimately gonna be some face-off with Eren versus Mikasa and Armin. That's definitely gonna happen. Next question up from Spieth. Foxen, do you think Annie has royal blood? So alongside the Armin thing, there have been also some similar things regarding Annie. The thing is, at this point I could almost guarantee you that Annie doesn't have any connection to royal blood. Why? Recall that Eren has actually fought Annie back in the Titan Forest, and even back within Walsina. Keep in mind that Eren has freaking touched the female Titan multiple times. If Annie did have any ounce of royal blood inside of her, Eren would have freaking been activating the founding Titan powers left and right. Next question up from Vindre. If Annie wakes up, is there a possibility that she would fight and defeat Peak? So another Annie question right off the bat. The thing about this is that you're asking about whether Annie would fight Peak. Do they have a reason to fight? Right now I'm really just picturing that if Annie does wake up and she doesn't get eaten immediately, she would be super confused. I mean, it's been 4 years. Hopefully we'll get an answer as to whether Annie actually aged. I mean, unless you get this type of situation where Annie does wake up, she gets confused, then Peak and the warriors randomly tell her that they're gonna eat her, I don't see why the female Titan would get into a fight with Peak. And just assuming Annie isn't handicapped, she would beat the hell out of that Titan. Next question up from Jord the Destra 1. Currently Zeke is naked, so how is he gonna get to Eren without being attacked by the garrison or the military police? So this actually goes back to one of the things I mentioned at the very start of this. I really think that Zeke is going to be unconscious and knocked out for a few chapters. In other words, if Zeke actually makes it back to Eren's hometown, it's not going to be through his power. Someone is going to have to go pick him up and take him over there. Where is the freaking Survey Corps Uber at this point? I mean, at this point, just looking at what pieces are on the board, the ones most likely to find him from Eren's group would be Phlox's group that's heading over there. But actually, you did bring up something funny that I mentioned. Zeke is going to be freaking naked if he does get found. Oh, and you could expect that's going to be censored in the anime. Next question from 414 Rainbow Heart. Why are there animals and dinosaurs in the season 2 opening? I was rewatching season 2 yesterday and it felt kind of weird. Alright, so there's random animals and this big ass dinosaur, and I think also a whale because the freaking animators were on drugs. At that point the Wit Studio was freaking hotboxing the entire studio. That's why that happened. But seriously, doing a full video on the Attack on Titan season 2 opening is on my to-do list. We'll see when that happens. Next question up from Afe Davis. So even after reading the manga, I still don't get all the business with the first Race King and his will overpowering his descendants. Can't it be broken? If you remember, Frida Reyes acted crazy from time to time, wasn't herself trying to resist his will. Alright, so interesting topic about the Race King, and to be honest, it could actually be a full video on its own. So the first part about this, can it be broken? To be honest, I do think it could be broken, and perhaps Zeke has some knowledge about this. The thing about Frida acting crazy from time to time, if you actually think about how the events played out in Attack on Titan Season 3, none of that was there. So now the question becomes, was any of that canon? I would probably lean towards no. Specifically, you bring up Frida trying to resist his will. For me, it didn't really actually seem like Frida was resisting. It was more like she got access to all these memories and then was haunted by that. Perhaps she even got scared of this other entity taking over her. But once again, none of that was in the Attack on Titan Season 3 anime, so it might not be canon. Next question up from Uzer. What is the difference between Eldians and subjects? So for the longest time, this was a mystery. And even to this point, people are still debating about it. The thing is, just recalling randomly from memory, I do believe the two terms were introduced in different spots. However, both of these terms were used a lot in Grisha's flashback after the basement reveal. During that time, you had Marley individuals and Marley officers using both of these words interchangeably in the same freaking panel and sentence. Right now, I would think about Eldians as past citizens of Eldia, and specifically subjects of Ymir, ones that had a connection to the original Ymir. Next question from MarkMeister18. What do you think is going to happen with Levi and Zeke next chapter, if any? And do you think we'll get back to Mikasa, Armin, and Eren next chapter? So I guess really quickly on the Levi and Zeke part, hopefully we get some type of status update for one of them. Although just knowing Isayama, that's not going to happen. Presumably, I do hope that we're going to get back to what's going on with Eren's group and what's actually going down in his hometown. That would be the best thing. Next question out from Arvgo. Do you think it's possible to see the warrior Hitch trying to free Annie and the Survey Corps members? If you're asking whether it's possible, I do think it's in the realm of possibilities. Whether it's actually going to happen, I don't see why the warriors would rescue them. Just partly because I'm not sure why the warriors would even know about them being captured. And that's not even getting into the fact that why would they know their location? I'm still thinking that Eren would actually just let them out himself so they could see his handiwork. Next question from Nami. Hey there Foxen, who among the daughters of Ymir do you think inherited the founding Titan? So for this question is going back to that one detail dropped about the actual daughters of Ymir. Supposedly the walls being named after them, Walrose, Maria, and Sina. So for this question specifically, you're assuming this Ymir person even exists, which I'm still questioning. Assuming some magical Ymir person did exist, I would actually say that none of the daughters. How about this random idea? How about if the Titan power actually got stolen? The main one, the founding Titan. Next question up from Brian. Hi, weird question. But now that Eren has inherited the WarHammer Titan, does that mean that Eren gets to live another 13 years? And would that happen when the 13 years are up with the attack Titan? So for this question, I actually have made a full video on it. I'll go ahead and link you to that or remind me to do so. Really quickly, I'll just say that I really don't think Eren got another 13 years. Next question up from Dasketo. Do you think that the Titan rumbling will really happen? I mean, at this point, Isayama has been teasing this for chapters and chapters. I think most Attack on Titan hardcore fans would be disappointed if it didn't happen. At the very least, they should freaking set off the demonstration in their hometown. Next question up from Shiban. Do you think that Eren will wear his 3D maneuver gear again before the end of the series? To be honest, I really don't think Eren has any need to be using that again. At one point, Eren should be trying to get on top of the wall, so it would come in handy. Very handy. Especially if Eren plans to do more multiple Titan transformations. Next question up from Peak. Do you think they'll show the aftermath of the Thunder Spear accident with Levi and Zeke? Accident? That definitely was no accident. So the only additional thing I'll add to this is that I think they actually may show the aftermath. Again, going back to Isayama just showing one panel or hinting at it, he may show freaking Jean's cousin blown up. There's gonna be horse meat everywhere. Next question up from Pikachu Poco. Do you think that people like Mikasa, Armin, Jean, probably not Coney, but why not? Or anyone else close to Eren might hesitate if they get put into a situation more or less like Jean did in Attack on Titan Season 3, with that girl from Kenny's squad if they have to kill Eren. In other words, will the Survey Corps hesitate against the fight versus Eren? To be really honest, I think there's going to be a couple of them hesitating, and that's going to cost them. Whether it's going to be Mikasa, Armin, Jean, potentially Jean or Coney getting seriously injured or killed because of that. On the flip side, I really don't think Eren's going to be hesitating at all, so keep that in mind. Next question from Alex. Will Eren manage to change the course of events which he witnessed in his vision at the beginning of the first episode by the end of the manga? This of course showing many things, one of which shows all the Survey Corps dying. At this point, it's almost already guaranteed that that's definitely going to be changed, since 1, Isayama has already shown us the final Attack on Titan panel, and 2, at that point in the story, Isayama was still planning to kill everyone off by the end of the story, which Isayama has mentioned he's not going to go that route, at least not in the route of every single person dying off. Also keep in mind that in the time that the first episode aired, the Attack on Titan manga should have ended between chapter 80 and 90. We are way past that. At this point, the Attack on Titan manga is really just in bonus content territory. Next question up from Mahad AD. What will be Peak's planned mission when she sneaks into Paradise? So presumably Peak right now is gathering information. If you think about it, she actually has the best suited Titan for it, one which she could easily use to escape. I'm assuming Peak could also do multiple transformations without a lot of problems. Next question up from Mia ER. How will the Survey Corps escape prison? So really going back to some of the stuff I mentioned, I don't think the Survey Corps will actually escape prison because they won't need to. Eren and his group just made to let them outside so they could see what he's doing. Next question from Really Good Gaming. Do you think the Wallians have the capability to extract Titan spinal fluids? I've always been confused by this. Do all Eldians contain spinal fluids that can be injected to turn someone into a Titan, or only Titan shifters? So for this question, I think you're actually mixing a few things up. So for the first part, can the Survey Corps actually extract Titan spinal fluids? From this, you actually already know that they can. I mean, just look back to Attack on Titan Season 3, the Reyes family already had the needle technology. For the second part, that actually has not been revealed in detail. Presumably to make this substance, whether a gas or liquid that actually turns an Eldian into a Titan, does use a Titan's spinal fluids, but also is a mixture of something else. In other words, potentially there might be some other way to make this stuff, but the most common way right now has been to use a Titan shifter, like Zeke. Next question from Y. Do you think we'll get to see Mikasa and Annie fight by the end of Attack on Titan? So at this point, I'm just hoping for Annie to return, and not get eaten right away. The sooner the better. As to whether these two females will be fighting, I really doubt it. I think that chapter closed at the end of Season 1. Next question from Manga Lover. What will happen if Eren showed up in Zeke and Levi's location and find out what exactly happened to them? Assuming that Zeke is still alive, I think Eren wouldn't mind at all. Potentially his brother took out his biggest threat in the freaking series. If Eren does find Zeke, at that point he would have what he wants. He would really just have to wait for Zeke to freaking wake up. Next question up from Lewis. Do you think that Marley will ever invade Paradise Island? With the rush that Zeke is in to meet Eren, I feel like the attack is imminent. Maybe a couple or so chapters away. So Marley attacking Paradise Island, that is definitely going to happen. I mean, we actually got hints of this when Reiner told them to speed up their operation. Just the last chapter or two ago, we actually got more hints of this from Zeke. So yes, if ultimately this grand battle is going to happen in their hometown, I really don't think that Marley and their soldiers are going to be part of this. Unfortunately, I think most of them are going to be taken out by the Wall Colossal Titans. That's going to be fun to see. Next question up from Jake. Do you think we will finally find out what Zeke and Eren discussed with each other? If you're talking about what these two guys were planning and talking about next chapter, unfortunately, I really don't think we're going to find out. Not yet. Again, this really just goes back to having some sort of flashback chapter between these two brothers. Potentially next chapter we're going to have some type of flashback, but it might not be about this. I'm still wanting that Eren Kruger flashback. Next question up from Rodrigo. Do you think the old 104 Scout Army, Horsemen, and the others are going to have a major role, or just as side players in the final chapters of the manga? If you're talking about the Stallion and Coney, they are definitely going to have some important part. I mean, Isayama left them alive for a reason. At least for the Stallion, whatever role he's going to play is definitely going to be involving either Eren or Flock or the Cult guys. As for Coney, whether this guy lives or dies, that should definitely involve either the Beast Titan or Eren. We'll see what happens. Next question from the internet legend. Do you think Armin will try to beat Eren's match by going on his own Titan quest, consuming the Armor Titan and Jaws Titan? Alright, so interesting question, and let's actually think about this. Right now, Armin is a Colossal Titan. To be honest, I really don't see any Colossal Titan eating any other Titans unless they fucking jump into his mouth. So no, I don't see Armin consuming any Titans. However, I think the idea of combining some Titans to face off against Eren may not be a bad idea. How about making some combination of the Armor Titan, Jaws Titan, and Card Titan? Next question from AckerWoman17. Can we talk about how much Erwin's death has changed Hanji? I mean, she doesn't even have an assistant like Moblet now. Ah yes, the grand battle, and ultimately the passing of the commander. If you think about it, it's not necessarily only his death that caused the change to Hanji. I mean, all of these guys changed over the past 4 years. Specifically about Hanji, not only did she fully take on the commander role, like you mentioned, she really doesn't have an assistant anymore, which really goes back to Hanji ultimately changing up, since she has a lot more responsibilities now. I mean, beforehand, Hanji was really allowed to play in her own little space. I really never saw Hanji as this leader figure. I mean, Hanji was the most senior person left over. However, the commander role should have maybe gone to someone else. Final question from Beaks. What do you think will happen to Hanji since she is struggling quite a bit? I don't see how she'll be able to get out of the situation she's in. I hope she doesn't get hurt. The final 2 questions about Hanji. And yeah, Hanji so far in the story has taken her own beating, in a sense. I mean, at this point, Isayama has almost killed Hanji in the past in that one grand battle. She got out of that only losing an eye. Unfortunately for Hanji, I do see her struggling a lot more. Very, very likely at the hand of Eren's cult members. Which really brings up the question about whether Hanji's gonna make it out of this story alive. I would actually put my bets on 50-50 on that. Maybe someone's not necessarily going to take out Hanji, but I could see Hanji sacrificing herself to save somebody. So for you watching, definitely post down below if you want to see Hanji making out of Attack on Titan alive. Alright, so that does wrap it up. Post down below any of your replies to any of the questions that appeared in this video. And if you did make it to the end, please consider supporting on Patreon. You obviously do like the content I put out. Anyway, Attack on Titan chapter 115 comes out in, what, a week or 2? Spoiler video coming out, and then the full video on the chapter. And I'll see you guys later.